Hi, and welcome to the CAFMA Connect. I'm your host, Fire Chief Scott Freitag, and just for Chief to chant at AFMA, here with us today is our new Fire Marshal, Darrell Tirpak. Darrell, welcome.
How you doing, Chief?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. Glad to be up here finally.
You've been here 3 weeks now? 2 weeks?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
3 weeks? How's it going?
It's a good change, learning a lot and getting all my priorities together between all the different parts of the district. So it's been fun.
Well, and you have kind of a dynamic situation coming in here as the new Fire Marshal because we had 5 people in fire prevention. We lost 4 within 30 days. So we've hired 3 back, and we still have Jim. Jim is awesome. He's still here. But Carrie, Kevin, you. So now you've walked into not only a new agency, but a brand new division with brand new people that you need to bring together. Yeah,
it's been interesting because everybody is new,
right?
But it's actually really awesome because it's a fresh slate,
right?
They're all motivated. They're all wanting to become bigger and better members of the department, and so I think it's going to work out really well.
I think we hired some good people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I really do. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm originally from Germany. I was born in Germany. I was an Air Force brat.
Okay.
Then we moved to New Jersey, and then I joined the military and got stationed out in Arizona, and never left.
Never left. And in the military, you were in the fire service as well.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I started out in backseat on a fire engine, and when I was done with the military, I was a station captain.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you moved from the military to where?
I moved right across the street to
Okay.
the city of El Mirage, and I was in the city of El Mirage for a little over 13 years.
Okay. And you moved up there and eventually became the fire marshal?
Yes, sir.
And, you know, we talked a lot during your interview about a variety of things, but one of them is your passion for public education.
Yes. Yeah, public education has been a really big thing for me. I love getting out in the schools and getting the citizens, educated on different ways to prevent fires and other avenues. So it's a really good time.
Well, it's a good partnership then with Kathy, our producer / community relations director person, all things PIO, face and voice of the agency.
Oh yeah, she's going to be a big help for me, and we're going to get a lot of educational things out to the public and hopefully bring a couple new programs in.
Well, that's great because as we talked about during the interview process and subsequent to that, since you've started, public education is kind of a big hole for us just because we haven't had the people to be able to go out. We just don't have enough personnel to get out and do the things we need to do. We know it's a glaring hole. We know we need to fix that because right now, I think you and I have talked about, we have a lot of assisted living facilities going up right now, and we should be in them talking about slip, trip, and fall safety. We should be in there talking about elderly fire safety, all of those different things. So a lot of folks think public education is just get into the schools, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah, it is. And like we've talked in the past, my goal eventually, once I get all settled in and figure out all the processes that we have, I'm going to start targeting age groups and things like that to try and take a bite out of where we lack and things like that.
And you're already talking about bringing up one of the last things you did in El Mirage before you left was a smoke detector walk.
Yes.
And you were talking about bringing that up here as well, and we're excited about that. Tell us a little bit about what a smoke detector walk is.
So basically, I got to give a lot of credit to Arizona Burn Foundation. They're really a great group of people. I call them and we set up an area, a target that we want to go out and do an actual walk on. And basically we get a bunch of volunteers and the department will provide some snacks and beverages for all the volunteers, and we'll go house to house. And if they need new smoke detectors, we'll install new smoke detectors, install new batteries. It's very successful. The last one I did was actually right before I came up here, and we did roughly around 90 new installs, and the time before that was over 150. So it's a very effective way. The volunteers are what makes it. We have the new age smoke detector that is a 10-year one-time install, no change of the battery. So I think it's very beneficial to fire prevention itself, and it's going to be
Absolutely.
very beneficial to our district.
Well, and I think, if we had everything together right now, we had a fairly significant structure fire with not just one home involved, but 3 other homes impacted, as well as outbuildings and vehicles. That neighborhood would be a great target right now for a smoke detector walk, just to bring awareness to folks. Again, talking about fire safety in their community. And I know where I came from, we had, if we had a big structure fire in a neighborhood, sometimes we'd go out after that and talk to neighbors about what they can do to protect themselves, exit drills in the home, fire extinguishers, just overall fire safety in general.
No, I couldn't agree with you more, and that's probably going to be one of the first areas I do hit with a walk, and then same thing with social media. Now's a good time to blast all of our platforms, talking about fire prevention, talking about smoke detectors and things like that.
Right. Well, and we're getting into where the wildfire season really kicks off. It never stops, but it really kicks off as things dry out. We had some pretty high heat this week already, and by high, in the 80s. So for me, coming from Missouri, still pretty nice because there wasn't like 90% humidity with it. But this is when we start talking about, hey, if you're hooking up a trailer, make sure your chains aren't dragging, right? Smoking safety. So we don't promote smoking, obviously,
Yes.
but being safe with your cigarette butts and putting them out in a safe place.
Yeah, I'm going to team up and with our PIO, and we're going to get out a handful of PSAs because this time of year is going to be the time of year where everybody's going to be trailering up
Right.
trailers, and the I-17 is notorious for the chain sparking and obviously smoking safety. So we got a lot of things planned, and we're gonna get it all out there really quick for us.
Well, and I think it would be fun to do some videos. And so we're working on getting Kathy a portable
Okay.
camera, GoPro, and mic, because one of the things that I used to do was, hey, we're getting into springtime, so now we're looking at barbecue grills. So what are the safety things we should be thinking about with the different types of barbecue grills, especially as everything's drying out? You have a charcoal grill, you knock that over. Can't tell you how many fires I've seen started by barbecue grills. So having a campaign like that, but I always liked when we were going to do something like barbecue grill safety, we'd do a short video on site, maybe grill something up as part of it, and then have a nice lunch.
That works for me.
I like it. I think it works well. Kathy?
Yeah, I'm in on that for sure.
She's still figuring out the buttons.
There's so many buttons.
She'll get it. So, Darrell, as you look at the Fire Prevention Division, I know you've only been here 3 weeks, and you look at our agency, what's kind of your vision for where fire prevention is headed?
Well, I think we have a good base with Image Trend. I've been talking to Chief Rose about adding for prevention piece of it, the investigation tab in that, so that way we can streamline between the engine companies and the BCs filling out their side of the reports to follow it up with the inspection, so it'll all be combined as one. I do want to enhance the fire prevention side of it with the inspections itself,
Right.
Because I feel like we can enhance that and do a better job for our citizens. Minus that, I mean, I'm still trying to learn all the ropes and figure everything out. It took, if I didn't have her with me today, I wouldn't have been able to get to the station because I don't know where the station is yet. So,
and by her, that's Kathy.
Yes, Kathy.
Back in the corner over there.
And I'm still learning everybody's names.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a very big area, so I'm trying to get all my bearings on that stuff. But fire prevention wise, we're gonna rise it up a couple notches and get very active in the community, and hopefully that'll trickle down into the rest of the departments, so we can just become more active in the community.
Well, you know what I have in my office is a giant poster that Michael Freeman printed out for me of our district with all station locations. So I've been meaning to get that thing in a frame from Hobby Lobby. So let me get that frame for you, and we'll put that in prevention, because I know Carrie and Kevin new to the area as well. So trying to figure out where everything is. When we talk to you about, and even some of your team about, how do you address developers and builders and contractors when there's an issue? And you talked a lot about, it's really an educational opportunity.
It is. I mean, first, it's going to be a relationship. I need to make sure we harbor relationships with all of our contractors. I think I started out doing that, and I think there's been some positive feedback already. The next thing is for me is that education and that understanding that I'm only there to truly enforce codes for life safety issues. So life safety is the top priority.
Right.
And it should be for the contractors as well. And I think once we get on that same page, the relationship and the understanding, we're going to be a smooth operating machine.
Yep. No, that'll be great. And I think one of the things that you bring to the table and Carrie brings to the table, and even to a certain extent, Kevin, even though he's newer from Portland, is we have a lot of big projects coming in, multi-story projects.
Yes.
And so apartment complexes, our former fire prevention team did some of those, but like Legato, which is a new Fane project, 6 stories, cat a corner from the Finlay Toyota Center, across from some apartments. It's going to have first floor commercial restaurants, 6th floor restaurant, in between living areas, like condo type living, I think, and then surrounding a 6-story parking garage. That's a new type of structure for Prescott Valley. And so what's great is you and your team bring some of the experience to us from having worked on those types of structures before on development.
Yeah, it's definitely a new project for up here. It's a new project for half my team. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn that into a training experience for everybody, because that project is really large. So
Right.
it's going to take all hands on deck as it is. So it's going to be a good time to really sit down with some of the inexperienced personnel and really get them to that level. So
Right.
I'm looking forward to it, A, because it's a really nice project that's going in.
It's a beautiful
and
project.
B, it's going to be a huge training asset for us. And I'm actually going to bring fire crews in from the first due, so
That's
that way they
great.
can see how everything is going, because, for them, it's a new thing as well. So
It is. And, one of the things that we're changing, and I talked to Chief Fatima about this recently, is we need to have that ladder truck in service a little bit more. As we're seeing more of these high rises go up, we have the commercial strip malls, which are like low rise, high rise type structures, Home Depot, Fry's, Walmart's, those types of buildings. And they're all centered around kind of where the truck 50 is. So it's important that we start working a little bit more with that truck, especially as we move into that area where you have multi-story commercial offices. And then you're going to have a multi-story commercial mix of people that live there in the condos, and then the apartment complex, and then the Toyota. You just, in that little area, you have a lot of high-rise structure. It's not, okay, Tempe, Chief Glass, high-rise to us. Chief Glass calls them kind of like step buildings,
yeah.
but that's because they're in Tempe. We're up here. But it is new to us for this area. And so I think that's great. Parking garage, new thing here, something we haven't dealt with before. And I know from my time back in the St. Louis area, a lot of people look at a parking structure and think, hey, this thing's wide open on the sides, so the smoke's just going to blow out if there's a fire in there. Not happening. Smoke's going to bank down from ceiling to floor. You can't see. We don't have good access. There'll be a sprinkler system. There's going to be standpipes, but even that accessibility can be an issue. And I'm just going to put it out there. You don't have to say anything.
Okay.
But the electric vehicle charging stations in there, those electric vehicles and lithium-ion batteries are a safety hazard.
Yes, they are.
And if an electric vehicle goes up in fire in a parking garage like that, we're probably going to lose half the other vehicles on that floor, if we can even get enough water in there to try to suppress it, and we can't drag it down the ramp to get it out. So those create a whole new challenge. And speaking of that, I was talking to Kevin the other day, and he said he was watching a video on the electric bikes, because we're seeing a lot of those in New York. People are taking their electric bikes, putting them in their apartment. Lithium-ion batteries are spontaneously combusting. And he told me, and I hadn't seen the video, but 26 seconds from the first whiff of smoke from that electric bike, lithium-ion battery, until the room flashed over. 16 seconds before the smoke detector went off.
Yep.
That would leave only 10 seconds for someone to get out of that room.
Yeah, and if you're not standing right by it when it happens, it's not enough time
Right.
to grab your loved ones and to move out.
And in New York, they've lost several people because of those fires with those bicycles. And when you're looking at that bike, your electric vehicle, similar, only bigger.
Yes.
So those things are challenging. Personally, I wouldn't park one in a garage, but that's just me.
Yeah, either would I. Yeah.
But I wouldn't own one either. So
No comment on that one.
Switching gears from electric vehicle before we get into too much political trouble, because the narrative is wrong. Had a structure fire this week.
Yes.
You're our lead investigator.
Yep.
And so this is the first time we've had a structure fire where you've been here, and it was large enough that we had a lot of people, a second alarm. How did that go? From your perspective, getting on scene, seeing the crews working, and then just the investigative piece after?
Yeah, so I was really excited to be able to see how CAFMA operates. So I got on scene. There was, I believe, one, maybe two hydrants in the area, and they were doing a really good job for not having that much water.
Right.
And I know that the units are spread out, so they're doing a lot more with less, which man, they did a really good job because there could have been a lot more carnage. They were able to stop the fire both to the east, to the west of it, and to the north of it. I mean, 3 or 4 structures took some damage, but it could have been a lot worse. We could have gotten to the point where if they didn't get a handle on it, it could have been a city block.
Yeah.
So I was very impressed with that. It leads me to always rethink, because I'm used to being in the valley where I have an abundance of water supply. And so for me, one of the key things here is, especially with new construction, is I want to try and place hydrants and get as many as possible that I can. That's going to be really accessible to
Right.
the ladder trucks or the fire engines, so that way it can, make that area a lot safer for them to operate in. But investigation wise, I had Jim Madden with me, and we kind of broke it up, and he took photos. I did all the interviews and assessed all the damage, and we were able to narrow it down to the origin on the front porch. And it was, unfortunately, with some discarded smoking material. And it was windy in that area, and it just took off.
Well, it's not the first time we've seen something like this from discarded smoking material on a porch. We have some pictures of another one that looked very similar. Windy conditions up here, fires can take off quickly, wind driven. I do want to give a shout out to B Shift, First In Engine Company, Engine 58. Zach Ducharme was the engineer, first fire he ever pumped, and did an outstanding job. 53 coming in behind him, backing them up, getting him water. Engineer Jace Hall, outstanding. I think everybody did a great job on that scene, because those homes were in such close proximity to each other that it could have easily spread and caused far more damage, as you mentioned, that it did. They did a great job getting it under control and keeping it mainly to the structure of origin, which unfortunately was a complete loss, and our thoughts and prayers are with that family. So, well, Darrell, thank you so much for coming on. I've been giving a very strict time frame this week by the producer, who said you will end this. So
I do want to say one quick shout out. You said Engine 58 was first on scene?
Yes.
Okay, that crew should get a special shout out today, because during that house fire, the owner asked if we could retrieve 2 safes that had a lot of valuables in it and family history in it, and that crew was able to pull both of them out, and they were salvageable. So they went the extra mile on that end. So
They do. Our crews do an outstanding job up here with limited resources, which we hope we're going to start being able to correct here pretty soon. And I know the town is working to add more fire hydrants into areas where there aren't fire hydrants. There's just some easement challenges and access to water main challenges, but they're working on that. So it's a good partnership between us and the town of Prescott Valley. But Darrell, thank you so much for coming on. I know we'll have you on again in the future to talk more about public education programs. Maybe we'll just have you and Kathy, and then I'll run the board in the background.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Chief.
Yep. Hey, thanks, Darrell.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.